Today is the fourth episode of our podcast, and we have Mr. Mehmet, one of my friends, as a guest. He has been a CTO for a long time, and welcome, Mr. Mehmet. And we will have a quick introduction about yourself.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for having me on the show today. So, yeah, my name is Mehmet. I am the founder and CEO of Yassi Ventures, a company that acts as CTO as a service, one of our offerings. I've been in tech for more than 20 years, shifted in different roles, started my career as a help desk agent, and then went all the ladder up. And then I worked as a consultant with some multinational companies where I was working with clients to find solution for their business problems using technology.
Amazing. So, how has your passion for innovation and entrepreneurship shaped your career and the way you approach businesses?
Yes, very good question. So I've been always fascinated by technology for multiple reasons. Of course, it's cool, like when I remember when I was a child, always been seeing, something electronics, it attracted me. But later in my career, I started to see how technology is able actually to solve real business problems. And this is where I have grew this passion to look for problems in businesses and try to find what would be the best technology solution to solve this out. Of course, it's not something that happened overnight. It took like years and years from me. But yeah, and this is what drove me to become an entrepreneur later on. Now, just I have my own consultancy business around tech and business. And our core value is how really not just sell technology, because you can have plenty of technologies in the market, you can go shop around, but you need at the end of the day the right technology which is solving your real problem. And when I say real problem, what I mean by this, usually when we talk about technology in business, we talk about how the business can generate more revenue, how the business can finish tasks much faster. Third, how we can avoid losing customers and losing also revenue, which is more about risk. And at the end of the day, how we can also increase the number of customers that return to us. So this is, I believe, is core for any technology in a business perspective. And this is what I try to talk about. And even as you know, Mohammed, I have my own podcast show called the CTO Show with Mehmet, where I see how we can do this junction between technology and business.
Yeah, amazing, Mehmet, for that. So now when you talk about technologies, I know you have been working for quite a time. Can you just talk about which technologies you started with and how has that grown and what are, because I know this is a very changing environment and so many technologies shift has happened in the last 10, 15 years. So can you just walk around with a small journey of maybe some of the technologies, if you remember?
Oh my God, I have to go back long time. Yeah, honestly, like my first interaction with technology as a technology, I would say, was when I was still a child, because my father has his own workshop to fixing electronic stuff. So this is where I started to see technology. The thing for me is I start to see it inside, and then I went to the outside. Um, Later on in when I grew up, the first time I interacted with a computer, this was like the super moment for me, right? So you type something and then it returns for you, and I was fascinated by the concept of like having a program written to do certain tasks. So I remember my first programming language that I had to interact with at that time. It was called Pascal. I'm not sure if still someone remember it, if they are old enough like me. And then, I shifted to learn about different, I would say, programming languages. So mainly, this is where I started it. And I worked also with technologies that work with hardware programming. So basically, something microcontrollers programming. These are mainly based on C and C++ and this kind of technologies. And then I work also on something called VHDL, which is like to program chips actually. But this was back in the days where I was still student, right? So this is really didn't go to be a main career for me. Later on, I started my career, as I was telling you, as a network slash system specialist. So this was my first, interaction with technology, and there where you have to interact with something like operating systems, networking, cybersecurity. And then, later on, when I came to the UAE, my first job was a IT specialist in a university where I was like responsible for assisting, the students and the staff and the professors in their use of technology. So there where also I was lucky enough to understand how the end users actually consume the technology. So this was an eye opener for me. Later on, during my career over there, what I had to do is to interact with something more advanced, I would say. So basically, I started to, touch technologies like virtualization, like the deep cybersecurity, I would say. I started to work on something like mail systems, mail protection, and so on. And this, like it became my main career for a while. And then in 2013, I was lucky again to be hired for a company where I was a solution consultant. And this is and the product was mainly about data protection, and I had to interact with a lot of other systems. I started to talk to customers in real life, right? And then I started to build on top of that. So from data security, data protection, later on network monitoring, application monitoring, later on more about cybersecurity. And over the years, like for more than 10 years, I was doing consultation for customers, but all the time I was trying to leverage all the knowledge that I had in my previous work to give it to the customers. So it's a wide range, I would say. Recently, now what I am focusing a little bit on is some new technologies, like yourself, Mohammed, like AI, but I look at it from different perspective. You are on the data analytics side. So for me, I try to see how we can leverage AI in solving real business problems. The other thing I am on is no code. And the reason I was hooked to no code, not because I don't want to learn to code. I have, as I told you, some background in coding. But what hooked me up is the speed, and how fast. Let's say you have an idea, you can come up with it, just matter of no time. So this is what I am up to now. And of course, in addition to my own consulting business, so this is are the technologies that currently I work on.
Okay, amazing for running through the history. It's very nice because people and specifically the listener, they have to understand that technology is ever changing. As you started from what earlier on and now what you are doing, you have learned all the
Yes,
way. And this is one of the
correct.
message I give all my people who listen to me and talk to me is that this is a continuous learning journey, specifically if you are in the tech industry. Thanks for that. And now you mentioned about because I'm a AI into you can say and you use that word AI. So I just want to ask you something about when you are saying you're using AI to solve business problems. Uh, I assume that you are going to use AI. You are going to consume AI to to use it and to solve any problem as such, right? So can you just give an example if you have something in mind, like so that people understand? Because this is also very important. People, why I'm asking this question, people, as you told very nicely, that you don't need to know what are the things, how to produce AI, to use AI in the statement
Yes.
that you said. So
Yeah,
just
yeah,
can
yeah.
you just run it little
Yeah.
bit a small example so that users can understand if it is not proprietary or it is if you want to just discuss any use case that you have in mind that you think you can solve using AI and what are the main things. See, it is not only as you told, you don't need to know coding. It is because there are you need to know the logic as you have a lot of experience, you know to how to connect the dots and you don't need to know statistics, you don't need to know coding to at least start using AI in whatever you're trying to do. as a CTO. So if you can just run a quick example if you have in your mind so that learners could relate.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, I will do this. So just to keep it simple, and I will not give a very high business example. I will give actually an example from day-to-day life of everyone, right? And the reason I'm saying maybe you have, some audience who maybe, they are not very much technical. So I will keep it very simple. Now, as you know, Mohammed, AI is something that we use as a tool that allows us to do some analysis. Sometimes it allows us to automate few things, and sometimes it does decision on our behalf, right? So the way I look at it is the best way to leverage AI is to look today the way you are doing your tasks. And again, let's keep it personal, not business perspective. For example, like always, maybe whenever you have a friend or maybe some relative, they have some occasions, right? And then you want to buy a gift. It's just a common problem sometimes. What should I buy, right? What I have bought last year, like what could they like? So this is might be maybe for me it is, maybe for others not, but for the people who have this, let's call it frustration, or let's say like they think about it too much. So let's try to find if AI can solve out this problem to us. So one of the things we know that AI can do, the AI is very good at giving you options, right? Because AI can go, and everyone talks about ChatGPT now and these AGI models, which is the artificial generative intelligence, which can generate text for you. So think about a way where you provide some input to your program. And for example, you say, this is the, he's a friend or a relative or maybe a wife or a child. You choose, to whom you are gifting. And then you tell the AI the age of the person, and then you might or might not, if you want, tell, for example, what is their hobby or what they usually like. And then you give these inputs, and then the AI comes and gives you, for example, a list of 10 ideas for gifts. So now something that you used to be frustrated about it, think how technology can make it easier for you, right? So I gave this example because actually I built a prototype that can does the same thing that I just described now. And the whole thing, it took from me just 2 hours to build, because all what I needed to do is just to build a simple interface as a form. And then once you fill the form, it goes and pass the parameters to the OpenAI API, so which is basically, the back end of what you see in front of you as ChatGPT. And then once it returns the result, it goes and display them to the user. So this is just an example, very simple. Maybe it's a silly example for some, but see how a very simple AI driven, I would say, small web app can solve a problem for you. Now, we can take this one more level up. And this is where AI is becoming now more and more, used by companies and also by individuals. So always the advice I give people, try, for example, to analyze your day and see what are some of the repetitive tasks you do a lot. So let's say, for example, at the end of the week, you need to have a summary of all the meetings that you have done, and then you have to build a plan for this. So think about, for example, you just connect your app to your calendar, and then it will analyze with whom you have done some meetings, and then it's just automatically a program that goes and shows you, hey, this week you had 6 meetings with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And the topics were like this. And even it can have access to your email, and it will tell you, hey, like meeting number 3 and number 4 were not followed up, so no one sent any email. So it might like highlight, okay, you need to send email for 3 and 4, right? So you see, like it start to automate things in a way that you can focus more, instead of writing the note that I need to remember to send the email, I need to do this. So it worry you less, right? And then you focus really on exactly the business you are trying to do here. So this is another example, and of course we can go on and on. Now to your point, Mohammed, about how fast we can bring this. Really, the technology is so advanced now, and it's also at the same time very easy to interact with this technology. So what I can tell you, you can build similar to the gift idea generator that I told you about. You can build such system in no time because there are plenty of tools out there. So of course, OpenAI is the core for getting this artificial intelligence part to generate content, but we have also no code, which is the front end, so you can build very beautiful simple interfaces. And then you have the automation part, because you need this to be scheduled automatically. So there are a lot of tools also that can provide this. Just to name few, Zapier is one, Make, or previously it was called Integromat. This is another company. IFTT, if that, then this. There are plenty of tools that they can Google them, they can find them, which also can automate these repetitive tasks. So this is in a nutshell how I see it, is how to leverage technology to solve problems. And don't overcomplicate it, it's more easy. And my advice always to start with a small use case and then try later on to add it. For example, think about again the AI gift idea. So maybe at the first stage, this AI, it just generates your ideas, but what if actually if this web app can go and search on Google or Amazon, for example, the price of such gift and where you can find it. So this is something also you can do and add it later on to it. And then maybe you also can automate it to be, once you select, yes, I want this, to go order it, and then you receive it, and then you send it to the person that you are, gifting that item to. So you see, like, start small, and then from there you can take it to the next level. This is what I would say.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the amazing tip, because this is one thing that we all know. We are staying in a present time wherein there are so much things that are available. You just need to have a good idea, and you need to know what you want to do. And if you have that ability and the will, you can do it, because there is a lot of things that is available for us online. Okay, so now can you just talk about some of your experiences in helping tech startups to develop their business development plans and go-to-market strategies?
Yeah, sure. So in addition to my technology background, so I have built kind of a business acumen over the years. And again, it's something that some people think it's hard to do, but this just requires experience, nothing more. So I was lucky enough to work with some startup companies which are based in the US, and they wanted to start their operations here in our region, in the UAE and across the GCC and Middle East in general. So part of the things that I learned over time is how you can take a business which is maybe generating revenue in the US or Europe or wherever, but you are trying to enter a new market. So our market here in the GCC and in the Middle East in general, it's a little bit special market. You need to know, the know-hows. You need to know how to, I would say, position your product. You need to use the right language. You need to understand the cultural background of people. You need to understand the mindsets. And this is, very rare. And I think we are lucky to live in a place like UAE and GCC in general, where we have a very diverse and multicultural environment over here. And this is where, myself, I learned how to take the message, because at the end of the day, when we talk about startup, these startups are trying to solve a problem, right? And this problem, you have a product, it's a hardware, software, whatever it is, that you need to go and present it in front of customers that might have the same problem. Now, here where you need someone who understands how to convey this message, because a lot of the time, the way the messaging, or what they call it, the pitch of the product is done in the US, it cannot be done the same way here because of multiple reasons, right? So this is where, part of the services that I offer is to let these startups understand, the dynamics of our region, like which business model they should use. Should they go sell directly? Should they sell through a reseller? Second, how to position the product. Like, yes, you are solving this, but for our region, the messaging should be following these stages, not the one that you are doing back in the US, because what's working there in the US doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work here. Yes, you have cool technology, but you need to convey the message in the right way. So this is part of the thing that I do, and actually I have done this quite a couple of times with multiple companies, and this is now during my, as a my new business also as well. So we offer what is called, startup expansions in the region. So whether it's a SaaS or maybe it's a software, and they have acquired some customers in their region where they started it, how they can come operate in UE and GCC in general. So this is basically the offering, and also not only just come and start to sell. No, like how you can grow the business, take it to the next level, become a I would say an icon, in the market. Because at the end of the day, when you come to a market, your ultimate goal is not just, have a couple of customers and then take the money and go, right? So you need to have customer retention, you need to have customer satisfaction, you need to build some use cases, you need to build success stories, and so on. So this is where I help, as I said, startups to establish the best strategies to take their businesses to the next level.
Amazing, amazing. That's really important, specifically in this region.
Yes.
And now, can you discuss some of the technology startups that you admire and you follow, and why?
Yeah, sure. Of course, AI. I'm following AI on a very, I would say, hourly basis, not daily basis. So every hour, I have like set of sources that just trigger whenever something new happen. So this is one, AI. Second is anything related to cybersecurity. And the reason why cybersecurity, because some people say, okay, you do multiple things at the same time, but I see it as a one, right? It's a holistic approach, because at the end of the day, AI relies on data, and data needs protection and needs security, right? So this is why I need to see what are the latest trends in cybersecurity, what are the new surface attacks that are coming up, the new hacking techniques, and all this. So this is very important. Third is cloud, which is under it can come, for example, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. And the reason why I follow cloud, because again, it's connected to the whole thing, right? Because today, if anyone want to know where the AI is running, AI is running in the cloud, right? And there are like a lot of services, a lot of technology, which are cloud technology sitting there. So this is what I follow. And another area that I follow, and even I talk a lot about it, which is emerging techs. Emerging techs are the technologies that we expect them. Maybe today they are still in the early phases, so they just have some early adopters. But on the long run, these technologies might become mainstream. They might become, the go-to market or the go-to option for businesses, companies to adopt. And I like to focus on anything, again, directly or indirectly related to AI, machine learning, and cybersecurity. And the reason is because, like AI, everyone would agree, I believe, that it's becoming now the core for everything. So everything gonna be like, turning in the sphere, around the sphere of AI. So here, for example, where we're gonna see a lot of things coming in the future, and this is something I'm following up on daily basis, is what will happen with fintech, what will happen with HR tech, what will happen with, metaverse, Web3, all these technologies, because I see a huge potential now that, doors are open for innovations. And I need to be ready when these tech start to go from the emerging phase to the mainstream phase. I need to have hands-on experience on that. So this is why I also follow as much as I can. And Mohammed, yourself, you are a technologist, so it's not hard to follow. It's not, sorry, easy to follow. So this is why I try to get some time in the morning where I read new articles. I watch some videos about these emerging techs, because really they are promising, and I believe they will add a lot of value to us on the long run.
any specific startup names or entrepreneurs that you have in mind and you really admire them and you feel that their work is inspiring you as well?
Past or present?
Present, because now it is we are talking about present and that is better. Present because that only can in future they will be to do something much better or something. So right now, so this is to be present because past is fine. We should now focus on the present and the future.
Yeah, yeah. If you ask me, I would start with the easy one. I would start always with the past. So from past
Okay,
perspective,
sure.
I'm always still inspired by like Steve Jobs, right? And uh, like he's a character that some people they hate, some people they admire. But for me, it's not about the person. I mean, and the personal life. It's more about the way he looked at technology. So he thought about technology in a much different way and how he can keep innovating and keep coming up with new ideas. If you think about a company like Apple, which started in the late 70s with just a box of wood and having some chips inside the Apple one, everyone knows the story. And then you see how later on they became a phone company, they became an internet company, they became a music company, they became a studio company, right? So you see how this shifted over time. And this is why I can talk about Steve Jobs and in this sense. Now in the modern ages, I think there are a lot of people doing quite interesting things nowadays. So just to name few, for example, again, he's a controversial character. Now, people will like him, hate him, that's fine. Elon Musk, right? So no one can neglect Elon Musk because Elon Musk is also someone who have already left some fingerprints, I mean, on the universe because all the work he did. Don't forget that he was part of the PayPal, and PayPal was the start of the whole, this digitization of BFSI at that time. Also, he's famous now, of course, for Tesla, SpaceX, and these things. The thing is, why I admire such people is their persistence and how they can continue despite the whole world sometimes looks it's against them, right? So when everyone was saying the SpaceX thing is a failure, he succeeded. When everyone was saying his Tesla is a failure, he succeeded, right? He still have work to do. Now, okay, Twitter thing is another story, maybe another discussion for another time. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, like other entrepreneurs and startups. So OpenAI, look at OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that was just started, I think, in 2015 or 16. I'm not sure. It's a young company, right? It's just less than 10 years old company. And look at what's happening now. Every single person on earth, probably with an internet access, is talking or using their product. It's something really fascinating. And like the other day, I was seeing two kids, playing, two kids, like they are maybe 7 8 years old, and they were talking about ChatGPT. Like it's mind blowing. um, and I would say there are a lot of what they are called solopreneurs, which are one man show, and I'm one of them, if you want, sometimes. So these people, just for example, there's a guy on Twitter called Peter Levels, if I'm not mistaken. So this guy, he keep building things. He keep building, and the guy, like he shares also how much the revenue is. He just started on a on he was on a travel all the time, and now even his profile picture, he's on a couch and has a laptop and just typing. Why I admire such people? Because these people, they believe in the power of tech and how they can add value to people. Just to name few, these are the ones that can come to my mind. Also, I want to mention there are plenty of entrepreneurs with technical background, but they are doing also fascinating things nowadays. They are building communities. Like there's a guy called Drew Riley, for example. This guy is just building a group of mastermind for technical founders and non-technical founders, actually, to come up with new business ideas, to come up with new products. So yeah, no, this is what I'm following nowadays. I mean, from startups and entrepreneurs' perspective.
Amazing, amazing. So, and now you told that you keep yourself updated. If you can throw some lights for the listeners as well. So, how do you keep yourself updated? You said you have some sources, something that you can share
Yeah,
because
yeah.
so that because it is very important, as I keep telling, because of open AI and this buzzword of generative AI, things are changing every day. And there are some of those other things that are happening before, and now we need to be more and more, what you say, uh, up to date. At least we should know the trends, because if we don't know, then we may be we may not be able to connect the dots. This is what I suggest and I tell people. So you can just tell about, you already explained the importance of this. Just tell some tips or some processes that can really help and build this habit. So I tell that we need to make it a habit of
Yes.
uh, reading AI or technology news daily. So what are your
Yes.
thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky enough to train myself to do this maybe since 2007 or 2008. Um, if you remember at that time, Web 2 was just about to start, and then we start to see like Facebook, Twitter, all these technologies, and then the iPhone and the smartphone revolution came. At that time, I started to predict, that look, you cannot just buy a magazine from the library and read it once a month to stay up to date, because this was the main way for people to stay up to date with tech till that time. And but there was a challenge at the same time. There's a lot of noise, because when the Web 2 came, every day we started to see new tech magazines, new resources. So YouTube channels, like, okay, someone would ask, how can I just do this? So good enough that, technology itself presented us solution for that. So what I have done is that I have selected a couple of feeds that I want to follow, for just to name few that are in my mind now. So for example, there is under Forbes something called Forbes Tech. It has an RSS. There is something, for example, for tech. It's called TechCrunch. There was something called, and it still exists, Read Write Web, for example. Um, and I have like a lot of these RSS feeds. The What I have done is I invested. It's not like a big investment, but you need to buy an app, whether you use Android or iOS or any other platform, where you have these feeds readers sorted in a certain way, right? Um, because you don't want to see, bunch of lines of headlines in front of you, because you would be lost, right? So what I have done is that I invested in an app called Feedly, and Feedly is very good because even they have something like kind of an AI built in the application, that it understand with time, it get trained to understand which news you are stopping at and you are clicking to read. So it start to prioritize the news for you. So I end up in the morning, instead of going with like, I don't know, like 500 feeds of news. So I just have to go maybe with 50 or 60. And then, I skim them very fast. And this is where you need to train yourself to be a fast reader, because if you're gonna read every article, you will not end, right? So it's gonna take forever. So this is my main source. This is the first one I use also. And to be sure that the news is accurate, I have also another app, and I think everyone knows it. It's called Flipboard. So Flipboard also, I use some of the features, and then I see which ones are coming on both applications. And probably I would say to myself, this is like a trustworthy, or let's say net worthy article to talk about, or to share, or to read. So these are my main two ways of getting the news. Of course, is it enough? No, it's not enough. You need also to follow some YouTube channels. Nothing on my mind, but like, it depends on what exactly you want to do. Like, and YouTube is very rich when it comes to this, and they have done good job in doing the categorization. So let's say someone is interested in AI, machine learning, data analytics. So you have, Mohammed, you have your own channel, right? So you can go to someone like Mohammed who shares on daily basis. He did insights, he did some courses, and then you subscribe to this channel so you can get insights about it. Of course, watching videos, it needs some dedication because usually they are longer. But again, there are some techniques you can use. So with time, you can know how to skip. Good enough now, YouTube themselves, they have done, you can see the sections and then you can skip just to the section that you are interested in. So YouTube is a very good source. What I did back in the days, and this helped me a lot, is, and I do it from time to time if I have the time, is to subscribe to something like Udemy or LinkedIn Learning. Because look, there's nothing called end of learning or end of education. You're gonna keep learning till the day you die. This is something, don't think that, okay, you say, okay, now I am knowledgeable, I'm done. There is nothing like this. So you need, it takes some time from you, yes. And this is where I dedicate my early morning times for grabbing the information and grabbing the news. And then I have another open window, I would say, at the end of the day, just before time to bed, where also I try to see if I don't read mainly the articles, but I try to find interesting things. And if you follow also like the proper accounts on Twitter, this can be a very good way, because people think Twitter is like a place where only like there are useful stuff, or maybe they think it's only bad news. And there's no, it depends, because you can select what you want to follow, right? So Twitter is a good source of information as well. So this is what I, and LinkedIn as well. So this is where I get the information from. Now, um, you need to be patient. Like, it's not something you say, okay, I do it one time. But believe me, and if you make it kind of a habit, it might be hard at the beginning, but you can do it. And hey, like, you can listen to a podcast like Mohammed's podcast or my podcast as well. I was neglecting podcast myself until like 6 7 years back. I came back to podcast because 10 years back podcasts were not very famous, especially in our region. Like, was saying, okay, why should I listen to a guy, I'm not seeing him, I don't know. But and then with time I figured out that podcasts are very rich in content. And the beauty of podcasts is multiple things. First, you can do it at any time you are free. You don't have to hold a book and read it, for example. Plus, when you are driving, to the supermarket, you're driving work, you're coming back from work to home, you can, and nowadays all the cars, they have Bluetooth or like these smart Android connected or Apple connected cars, right? So you just plug the cable and open it. This is what I do even sometimes. And of course, books, it depends, again, your own preference. So if you follow technology, keep buying technology related books, but don't, and this is what I want to advise, try also to diversify your readings, listening, and even watching, because you never know when a technology that you are following now, interested in, maybe today is like on the rise, but at any time it can disappear, right? So this is my advice when it comes to keep learning, getting the knowledge, and selecting the topics you want to learn about.
Thanks for the advice, Mehmet. So, one thing about this particular region, I know Middle East, MENA region, Turkey, and the North Africa. What do you feel is the future for this region? Because this is a little bit behind from the Europe and US. And what do you feel and what do you think is the future for this particular area in specific? What type of advancements and technologies will be much needed here in this, but specifically, as you told, that this region is a little bit different from the West. So, anything that you feel that people should focus on and see the growth in that particular area?
That's a very good question. Actually, what I want to say, in the past 10 years, the Middle East, North Africa and Turkey region have advanced a lot in technology. And I have an expectation actually, because back in the days, if you ask someone, where is the capital of technology? Like, where is all this technology coming from? And like everyone was pointing to one single place called Silicon Valley. Of course, sometimes you have other techs were coming from different part of the world, but I mean maybe 95% plus were coming from there. Now, things have changed. Why? Because our region started to adopt the technology in a very good way, in an excellent way, and we started to see, although it was slow at the beginning, but we start to see tech giants coming up from and startups coming up from our region. Like even we have big successes like Kareem, for example. Kareem is a huge success. The other one, Souk.com, is another success. They were like acquired by Amazon. Kareem was acquired by Uber. And we start to see these startups which are trying to also, come up with cool technologies. My expectation that we will see more startup techs, startup companies. What I wish to see is tech startups in our region. When I say tech startups, uh, you work yourself with also multinationals, Mohammed, and I see it very soon, by the way. Why not? I will not give a brand, but why something not like I don't know, a SaaS that offer email system comes from our region? Why not a system that offers, I don't know, like artificial intelligence, same like the open AI, doesn't come up from our region? Because by the way, we have the skills, we have the know-how, we have the even the governmental support now, which is fantastic, like no time before. Actually, I believe in the coming 5, 10 years, 15 years, really our region, the GCC region, will become the new capital of technology. Uh, because we have all the required infrastructure, we have, as I told you, the skills, and I'm expecting, it's still taking the time, but I'm expecting to start to see like unicorns in the pure tech or deep tech technologies coming up from our region. Of course, we need all of us to participate, to encourage, and this is why personally I am on a mission to enlighten, to teach people, how to do startups, because you need to start from somewhere. No one will do a Google in day one, of course, but you need to start from somewhere. And this is why I'm planning to have and release a service which would connect startup founders with ideas, investors, and talents. So if we can get these three together, I believe the Middle East region and GCC, Dubai, UAE, all the other GCC countries will have a huge, I would say, potential to become the capital of the startups. This is what I would say.
Thanks for this encouraging words, Mehmet. Any final thoughts? It was for the talk. It was very nice talking to you, and your insights and your passion about learning and technology was really amazing. And this will inspire my listeners as well to, to be passionate about this, because it's an ever-growing field, and your learning never stops. And one thing that I would take away, and the thing that is really resonates with me, because I have also seen a lot of technologies. Don't focus on technologies. Don't become a master in any technology, because technologies will change. Try to diversify your things, understand the basics. And this is one thing that I tell people, because as we have already seen in the last 20 years, things that were a technology and now it's like obsolete. So
Yes.
yeah, any final thoughts before we uh, call it a day?
Yes, sure. As you said, keep learning. Um, you can, like I know some people can easily become fan of some technologies, but keep in mind, you need to follow the hype, right? So the hype might today become up. You don't need to take it too much personal, because if today another technology and comes in and take over that, don't be upset, because this is how the universe works, right? So it's like a cycle. So what is today, they are on the top, tomorrow they might be on, going down, but maybe they will, rebound again. And we have in history a lot of examples like this, like, and I can even name them. Apple, at some stage, people were thinking that the company is closing, and then, when Steve Jobs came and, he took them back up. Microsoft, people were thinking it's a, company that's not innovating, and all of a sudden, when Satya came on board, and then he, reshuffled the whole culture of the company, and he take it up. And we can see a lot of examples of companies and technologies. So this is where I'm saying, uh, don't be attached to brands, don't be attached to, specific technologies. Get the know-how. If you have the know-how, you can adopt to any new technology. And always, this is my advice to everyone, always expect what you are using today, as you said, Mohammed, it might be not existing at all, not obsolete, not existing. No one will remember it, maybe after 5 years, right? So keep this in mind. If you have this mindset that things always are changing, just try at the moment, in the present, leverage this technology to come up with useful ideas, do that, and also keep learning. Keep learning. I cannot, like, I'm repeating it. Keep learning, guys, because learning is what keep us up to date. It can help us and the next generation to go to the next level. And of course, uh, keep inspired. And I want to thank you, Mohammed, because also you did something courageous, I would say, by starting this podcast, which is much needed. And this is one of the things that I'm happy I started to see it more in our region. So, Mohammed, you started your podcast. I start my podcast like 3 months back, and I do daily. So, if someone is interested to listen about the topics that I discuss, and I try to do a mix between tech and business and even startup entrepreneurship. And people tell me, okay, but it's like confusing. No, it's not confusing. It is, you need to understand what's happening around, guys. So yeah, so this is my final thought, I would say, on this topic. Um, and thank you for having me, Mohammed, today. It was my pleasure to talk to you. And I hope that your audience will love this discussion. If you are interested to get in touch, you can find me on LinkedIn. Mohammed, he can share the link in the episode description. Mehmet Gonullu. I'm very active on LinkedIn if you are interested to listen more and to get to know more about me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mehmet, for your time and very nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.